So, after enjoying the Pellerzi pizza, outside, everybody divided up and went their own ways. The boys, they jumped on their ninjas and left, and Riley and her younger sister, they jumped on their ninja, Riley Grace, and Raven. They jumped on their ninja and left. And it was Day's original girlfriends, Helen, Eve, and Chris. They all left in their car. So that left Aunt Brandy, the twins, and Esther, and Amy, the new girl, Amy Lovett. So they had the Escalade, and they were going to drop Amy off at her home and then go back to Esther's. So, almost leaving the large parking lot, a car pulled up blocking the Escalade, and 4 men jumped out of it. 2 came forward on each side of the Escalade. 2 jumped out of their Mercedes and stood by the back of the Mercedes. And one of the gentlemen spoke to Esther. She had rolled down the window, asked what the problem was. And the man said, "No problem. Dr. Mann would like to speak with the twins, Tracy Ann and her sister Elizabeth." So Tracy turned to her sister Danielle and said, "Well, probably we should hear what he has to say. Dr. Mann is the manager for Satan, the newest heavyweight champion of the WOW." So Tracy agreed, Danielle agreed. They get out of the car and go to the front. Dr. Mann comes out of the Mercedes. He's got his white suit on as usual. And he looks so much like an albino, but he's not. His eyes are very, very faint blue-gray. So anyway, he talks to him and he says, "Thank you for this interruption." And he starts to talk about the WOW and how exciting it is and will be in the future and the changes that are coming. And then he got down to business and said, he would like them to be part of the Satan team and be the team for Satan for defense in all the matches. And he said he understood that they had signed with or had agreed to go with Gothic with another wrestler. But he said, you haven't signed any papers yet. He said he understood that Beau Jackson was going to offer him 3 times what they had earned the previous year. He said, well, the Satan team will pay you 6 times what you made last year, and we'll give you medical benefits. Well, Danielle and Tracy, they were both flabbergasted. I mean, they just weren't certain about what to do. And at the same time, they both thought Esther could advise them. So they excused themselves. They said, give us a minute. They went back to the Escalade. Esther still had the window down. And they asked Esther, did you hear what Dr. Mann had offered us? Well, Esther got out of the Escalade and stood next to him. Said, I heard the whole conversation. And Tracy said, well, what do you think, Esther? It's a whole lot more money. Esther smiled, looked at the 2 twins, and said, well, you've always worked with a wrestling team that was the positive and popular team. But she says, I understand in wrestling, for the excitement, you have to have the good guys and you have to have the bad guys. She said, but you've never been part of the bad guys. She said, you both have really good big hearts. And while your fans have always loved you, and they'll love you as part of the Beau Jackson Gothic team, they'll probably equally hate you as part of the Satan team. And that might be hard for you to accept. And Esther touched each of them on the cheek. She says, it's not an easy thing to endure negative feedback from your fans. So Esther and, Tracy and Danielle, they looked at each other and they thought, well, that sounds like really good advice. Tracy said, Dad never was the bad guy, and he probably had a good reason for it. So I think Esther makes a lot of sense, Danielle. And she asked Danielle what she thought, and Danielle was right on board. Danielle agreed. Well, Dr. Mann had been listening, and he said, well, you're right. Wrestling needs the good guys and they need the bad guys. And now you will be the good guys, and adding to all the drama, and I won't have to pay you anything. And Dr. Mann turned and walked away. Tracy and Danielle, they looked at each other and said, "We probably made a very wise decision here." Danielle says, "Yes. Anybody that needs 4 security guards when he's going around, that's not a good thing, not a good way to live." And so they got back into the Escalade, and Brandy, unfortunately, had missed all the excitement. She was sleeping. Little Amy Lovett, she had heard and seen most of it, but she didn't make any comments on it. And so Esther started driving, and she took Amy home. Because it was getting late, Esther took Amy up to the door and met her father and promised to come another time for a visit. And so she left. They got back to the apartment. The twins helped take Brandy into the house and got her into bed. And the twins made a comment, "And Brandy's really got a beautiful body." And Esther said, "Yeah, I just have heard that a couple times lately." She says, but sadly, sometimes when you have a beautiful body, that's all a man might see. And my Aunt Brandy has a beautiful soul. And the twins all agreed. So they went out and sat in the kitchen. Esther made some wonderful Jamaican coffee. They were sipping on it. And Danielle said, "Esther, Tracy and I would really like you to sleep with us tonight. We think that we can handle your dreams." Esther looked at him and said, "Well, I agree. After I take care of some business and my exercises and shower, I'll join you in the ancient Chinese bed." And then Tracy yawned and she says, "Well, I'd love to watch you exercise again tonight, but I am exhausted and it's time for me to jump in bed." And Danielle said the same thing. So they both said, "We'll see you in our dreams, Esther." And they took off for bed. Esther would do her exercises, shower, and go in and lay down between the twins.